The murder of Maddie Soto is something that everyone is still looking for answers on as to how did this happen. I think it's pretty clear we know who did it. At least the allegations against Stephan Sterns are pretty ironclad, at the very least, for the sexual abuse that occurred with him and Maddie, with the pictures that were found on the phone and shown to Jen Soto, and even the grandparents had heard about that as well, and not, I guess, super shocked by the depravity of their son. We're going to talk about all of that, and specifically Jen Soto, a new interview that has been released from an interrogation with police while they were in the midst of the investigation as to who did this to Maddie Soto. Joining me to discuss, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. There's a lot to unpack here. It was interesting. Stefan's video was a little more brief. His interrogation, he was very calm, the same demeanor we've always seen in him of, okay, well, I just did this, I just did that. And then eventually they go, you know what we found on your phone? And they told him, and he's like, oh, okay. And eventually they strip him and take him away, but not that compelling, other than he just seemed to have no emotion. Um,
Right.
Jen Soto, the mom, that's a weird one. That's the mom who should have been protecting her daughter, who should have been aware, one would think, of what's going on in her home for all of these years. All the red flags are there. I don't even call them red flags in this case. It's like burning inferno of like, oh my God, something is wrong when your boyfriend is actively sleeping and grooming your child. And you admit that you know that that's happening, but you don't think that they're going that far. I mean, that's essentially what she has said thus far. Robin, what's been your reaction to that video? And we'll watch a clip in here in a moment.
It kind of keeps going back to what I've thought about her since the very beginning. I think she's witting, but I don't think she's acknowledging, if that makes sense. So when you look at this video, when I look at this video, the first thing that really struck me was how appropriate some of her behaviors are.
Hmm.
Her rubbing her hands on her thighs like this is her. There's two reasons people do these kind of rhythmic motions. One is a pacifying thing when you're under great stress, and the other is we see it with people trying to simulate getting blood off their hands, getting grime off their hands. And so she starts really rubbing when the thought of her and Stefan, sleeping with the same person. She said it was disgusting. She used the word disgusting. So there's an element of that. And then all of a sudden, she hits this pragmatic side where she's talking very normally and she's very, very matter of fact. And so what struck me was these compartments.
Hmm.
She's got extreme compartmentalization. So I did my typical thing as behaviors. Like, what would cause someone to be extremely compartmentalized? Well, long-term exposure and trauma.
Yeah.
And I think that she has been so groomed in her own life and conditioned in her own life prior to her relationship with him, because this doesn't so the evidence they have goes back to 2020. This wasn't his first rodeo. I don't think it's her first rodeo of dealing with this kind of person in her life and these kind of people in her life. I think, again, zero excuse for the behavior. This is about understanding the behavior.
Hmm.
She still made every single choice to rationalize what she was seeing, and she made the choice to disassociate herself from it and compartmentalize it in her head because she didn't want to believe it. She even said it. I don't want to believe he killed her.
Hmm.
Yep. I think this, again, let's go really simple here. She compartmentalized it, she disassociated with it, and she didn't want to believe it, and she created an entire fictional world to disassociate herself from it.
Was that a conscious choice she was making, though? Because I think some will argue in this case specifically, when you look at her, maybe she really it's she's had so much trauma that it's just like blackout almost. Like, okay, come put this in this compartment here, lock the door, close it, go over here. I can live my life this way. And she never goes back and revisits these drawers until somebody like the police come in and go, "Hey, we're opening up the deposit box. Guess what you've been storing?" Because it seems like when they do in the video, she's just, I mean, she gets very genuinely emotional. And it's almost like, oh my gosh, like you're throwing water on the Wicked Witch and she's melting. And then she very quickly, as she's exposed to reality, fills that gap back up. And then suddenly it's kind of back at her denial state where it feels to me like she could not possibly manage to live or in a world where all of this trauma is taking place around her, And she's enabling it, truly, but is she even aware that she's enabling it because of the excessive amount of trauma that she's been through in the grooming?
I don't think it's conscious on her part. I think it's part of her natural state of survival.
Yeah.
And again, always got a caveat when we start talking about, terms
Mhm.
of art in here, not licensed clinician
Mhm.
whatsoever, just a practitioner of human behavior.
Yeah.
I want to read some of the symptoms of dissociative disorder that we're kind of I'm theorizing is being applicable to her here.
Sure.
Feeling disconnected from yourselves, problems with handling intense emotions, sudden unexpected shifts in mood, depression or anxiety problems, or both, feeling as though the world is distorted and not real. And we've seen this with her because she's dissociating when she doesn't want to deal with it. And I think she's having very real emotional reactions to some of the truth bombs that are being dropped on her. But then she disassociates again and goes back to pragma. Let's just answer the question. So you're seeing this bipolar look at her
Yeah.
with these two different personalities. I think from just watching her and from the very beginning of this is just who she is, and who I think this is who she became after
Yeah.
years of dealing with something. And I even looked up, if there's any records of her being abused when she was younger.
Mhm.
um there aren't, that I found.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised though. Her life arc has been a feeling of disenfranchised,
Yeah.
of feeling less than, of needing love, of needing feeling connected, dad issues, parent, all these kind of issues and traumas people generally associate with really abhorrent behavior. I think she's got them all because again, she allowed the worst of the worst to happen to her daughter, and I don't think she made the choice she wanted it to happen, but she allowed it to happen because she was so disassociated from it.
And that's what's making obviously everyone just sick of how did you allow this to happen? Let's take a look at one of the clips from the interview with police and Madeline Soto. The main point here is the police pointing out to her that she keeps prioritizing Stephan over her
Yeah.
daughter. And there's some real disturbing reactions here when it comes to, I guess, just kind of brushing off, for lack of a better term, images of him assaulting her daughter. And well,
Yep.
there's that, but then she just moves on. Let's take a look and we'll talk on the other side.
Of Stephan. No. First thought you had was to ask his father if he should get a lawyer? No. I saw a picture. I didn't see the. I didn't know she was getting until yesterday. I saw the picture of the oral sex happening, and I knew that was true, right? That's evidence. That's for real. That's fucking happening. But I kept thinking, they're going. I don't know why I can't tell you why my brain kept thinking, no, he didn't kill her. Not that he didn't kill her, but she's still missing. She's still out there. She was taken. Yes, he's done this to her, and that's not okay. But I swore I felt in my body she was still alive. She was still out there. I told Chris to get him a lawyer because I felt like you guys were chasing the wrong person. But you weren't. You're not. We showed you a picture. The picture you saw, she was giving a blowjob to a grown-ass man, and you told his dad to get him a lawyer. Missing, right? Now you, but then you just thought she was missing. And we were showing you our investigative lead. A blowjob is not consensual. Whether she wants to do it or not, that is not consensual. And you prioritized him again. You prioritized him by offering him or telling his dad to get him a lawyer. Not what the fuck did he do? Not, hey, we need to figure out what happened. No, let's protect Stephan. I was in shock. No, that's not shock. That is your natural instinct to protect Stephan. Okay? And if that's naturally how you react, that's fine. But that goes into what I've been telling you this whole conversation is I don't believe a lot of the things you're saying, and I don't believe a lot of the things you say you weren't aware of. And that is because you've now shown me twice that your first reaction, no matter what you were told or shown, missing and we're seizing the cell phone, or we're showing you pictures of her giving him a blowjob, Your first reaction is to protect Stephan. So now, ordered by Stephan, you're aware of this. You were shown pictures of this. You were shown pictures of her body in his car with a seatbelt on, right? We have played it out for you. Now you're in a stage where he's in jail. You know she's passed away, and now you can feel emotion, right? Until that point, when you were shown that she was deceased, your continued first reaction is to protect this guy. You just said, I only saw a picture of him, whatever your verbiage was, I say blowjob, of his penis in her mouth, and your first reaction was, fuck. Oh my, victimized? No. She's being abused? No. It's Stephan needs a lawyer.
Okay, lots to unpack there. What was your take on that?
I think we're seeing a lot here. I think for the probability of her being unaware is pretty much zero,
Mhm.
because and the cop did a great job earlier on, describing that, even couples that are cheating on each other with distance know that something's going on.
Yeah.
There's red flags, and they lived in the same house. And so the likelihood and probability of her not being aware, I'd say, is 0.01%.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're seeing here, we're seeing an emotional reaction to a truth bomb being dropped on her, where she doesn't have the ability to disassociate from it. I think she disassociated herself from the reality. I remember I read those descriptions to you of what dissociative disorder can do: loss of memory, trauma, all these. I think she was witnessing it, and completely in those moments, she was zoning out. So she wasn't absorbing what her eyes were seeing, because when the truth bombs are dropped, that was happening. And so when you compound that reality of her mental state of horrendous, just horrendousness, with the fact that, and I wrote this down, the first thing I thought of in here when regarding her and Stephan was, for some reason, and again, I think because of her trauma bonding and her need to feel connected to someone, and I don't even say him, to someone, I say she thinks, I mean, just see how this plays when you think about her reaction. She thinks she can't live without someone like him.
Mm-hmm.
Not him in particular, I don't think, because she's not really emotional about him. She's trying, I think she's trying to save the idea of him, someone, a guy, a man in her life. And I think she can't fathom that she can exist without someone like that. That's why she's rationalizing the behavior she's seeing, even though the entire time for 4 years she's disassociating from it.
Yeah, I just when you hear those facts laid out in front of her, the I don't wanna say callous, but the disconnect of
It's disconnect,
like
100%.
okay, and that's bad, right? Yes, it's bad, or it's not okay. It's more than not okay. It's just not a the reaction of a healthy individual to something like that. She didn't. She just kept going on. Well, she's missing, right? Yeah, and you're sitting there giving a back rub to the guy that you found out did this, and yeah, I don't know. It defies logic, but that's what some people do because their
This
brains do
isn't
not work.
logical.
Yeah.
When you deal with the emotional brain, it's not logical. And so here's what I think is good news for justice for Maddie, and that is, all what we're talking about here is not excusing the behavior, it's understanding the behavior. I
Mhm.
think she is screwed
Yeah.
because she knew exactly what was going on. She just wasn't absorbing what was going on. That's not an excuse for allowing it to go on. I think she's going to be culpable. I think it's going to be turn out very poorly for her, not nearly as poorly for the scumbag that did it to her, to Maddie, but she's screwed.
Yeah, I mean, she's immune right now. Anything she said in that interview cannot be used against her. But if there's new evidence that comes out, which I'm sure there will be in a case like this, that can be. So I agree. I don't think it's going to end well. This is such a broken human being.
Oh,
It just, but at the same point, it's like you're a danger. You're a danger to yourself. You're a danger to other
yeah.
people out there that you interact with because you are so broken. Hence, you shouldn't be out there in the public. Look what already happened to your daughter. And that's where I just hope she doesn't get a pass on this for helping the authorities. I hope that she is held accountable for her own, for her own part in this, whether she was completely aware of it or not, or even just had the slightest inkling. If you're a parent, you have the slightest inkling something's wrong like that, you don't just push away and create some sort of dissonance to it. But that's
The-
seem to be the only thing she knew how to do.
I know these two broken people destroyed a child.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can only imagine their path of destruction. Beyond maybe not murder or anything, but the other people in their lives that they've been around, just utter destruction for their own
Totally. We
good.
see it time and time again. People like this don't stand out as abnormalities amongst really healthy people.
Yeah.
They are normal around their circle of influence in their lives. And so there's a lot of unhealthy around them. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.